This video will be about the installation of the Stuckless Rubber Track kit on my Max II ATV. The Stuckless kit is a set of aluminum guides and steel hinges that you use with snowmobile tracks that you procure yourself to put tracks on your 6 or 8 wheel ATV. I'll put a link in the description for the website for the Stuckless kit. I procured my snowmobile tracks off of eBay at a significantly reduced cost than what I would have had to pay for new tracks. So if you're going to go down this road, I suggest you look on eBay or some other website to find some used tracks that are still serviceable. There's all the guides, and there are the hinges, 4 of them all stacked up. And here are the tracks I'm going to be using. These are Polaris Camoplast. They got 1-inch lugs on them. I got 3 of them. Actually, 2 of them are the same, and then this third one's got these intermediate nubs. I'm going to have to cut every other one of those off to put the guides on. But I'll use those for the short sections. So I'll be using the complete each one of these and then little sections of that. Here are the 2 Camoplast tracks, and they're 15-inch wide and I think 133 inches long. I gotta measure my Max 2 wheels to see how long it needs to be. The reason I'm using the Stuckless kit, and actually I was gonna end up making my own until I found this online, and I figured for the price it was worth the materials and my trouble to just buy these parts. I still need to buy all the bolts. The reason I'm using this kit instead of trying to buy a factory one is the factory ones are kind of hard to come by right now. It's the fall of 2022, and I've looked around, and for the price and even for availability, I really couldn't beat trying to do this. So the reason I'm putting the tracks on is I've got a hill that I can just not get up with wheels. The soil is soft, so they just start spinning. So this will be my last attempt with this machine. So here's my Max II. So I've done a lot of repairs and upgrades to this. Came with this little 12.5 horsepower Vanguard in it, and I replaced it with a 25 horsepower. It says 23, but it's been upgraded to 25. Barely fits in the engine compartment. I did a frame out restoration, built some new seats for it, got all new controls, put an oil pressure light and a headlight switch, got all new 21-inch tires, and like I said, I could not get up this hill. Soil was just too soft, and I had all 6 wheels spinning, so hopefully with the tracks that will be solved. One of the problems with the Max is that there's not a lot of clearance up here between the wheel and the frame or the body. I knew that I was going to need wheel spacers. If I was going to go with the original 11 by 21 tires, which is what these are, I was going to need 5-inch wheel spacers, and that pretty much regardless of which track I go with. And I really didn't want to go with 5-inch wheel spacers, so the smallest tire I could find that would fit on these rims was an 18-inch 10.5. So it's a little bit narrower, but it's a lot smaller, if you can see. So I lose a little bit of ground clearance, but I should make most of that up with the track. And with that, those tires, I only need 2-inch wheel spacers. And this is a section of the track that I cut off. And you can see if I go right down the center there in the center lug, I have plenty of clearance on the inside. So this will now allow me to leave the wheels on and just take the track off if I want to put it on my trailer. I won't have to take the spacers and everything off. And these are the wheel spacers. They're 2-inch aluminum spacers. The lug pattern on these axles are a 5 by 4.5 inch diameter circle, which happens to be the same as Jeep's, I guess. So these 2-inch wheel spacers are readily available on Amazon. And the lug bolts are actually a lot longer than I need because they're for an automotive rim. And so you can see I've got a lot of bolts sticking out there. So if I needed to actually put in another 1/2 inch spacer, I could do that. Oh, I had to order slim down or narrow lug nuts to go in there because the original lug nuts are too big. I wouldn't be able to get my socket down in there. They take a 17mm socket. These take a 3/4 inch. So way too big. Alright, so here's the Max with my little tires on it, and I'm using a cargo strap to measure the distance or the length of the tracks need to be. And I've got about 1 inch, 2 inches of clearance on the center there for sag. And I've marked my strap right there, and I'll measure that. And this mark here is where it was when I had the larger tires on, the 21-inch tires. So you can see the track's about a foot shorter with the smaller tires. Alright, so I got my cargo strap, it's actually a tow strap, stretched out, laid out, and I got my measuring tape, and we're at about 155. Definitely don't want to go under 154, and depending on where the lugs fall in the track, I'll probably go up as high as 156. So I've got my one full length of track there with the hinges on both ends, and adding the small section of this, the third track piece. This is this one track here is about 130 inches, so I need a little over 2 feet of this track. So when I drill my holes, let me back up. Cut the track, put the hinge on, and I can line it up, make sure it's straight all the way across with the lines there on the track that are molded in. So that's a pretty easy way to make sure that the hinge is straight. And then I drill the center hole and the 2 end holes and put the bolts in there just temporarily before I drill the rest of the holes to make sure it stays aligned. Got the holes all drilled and bolts just sitting in the holes there, and then I can just drive them in with my driver rather than trying to hammer them through. Got them all driven through, and now I just got to put washers and nuts on this side. Alright, got all the washers, lock washers and nuts just started, and then I'm just going to go and snug them up a little bit. And the spacing between these bolts is pretty tight, so depending on what type of sockets you've got, it might get hung up once you start tightening them down. It's hard to get a wrench in there So I just use the impact driver. Alright, and then I'm going to go back and snug them all up. I'm gonna start at the inside and go out. I'm not sure if that's the right order. It doesn't say in the instructions. Alright, I got both tracks laid out, joined together with one hinge there, and my tape measure. Now I got to measure 155 inches from center of the eye. I'll just place that there. 55 brings me to there, and that's where my eye would be. So it looks like it's going to fall perfectly between these two lugs. So I'll just cut that off there. Yeah, and that'll give me 155. Alright, I got my little extra section here. And I have plenty of leftover. So if this is a little bit short, I will just cut a little bit longer section. Now I just need to drill the holes for the guides, cut out every other one of these extra nubs. I've already got the holes drilled on this side, so once I do that, then I can put the guides on and install it. And this worked out perfectly. If I've got the guide right after the hinge, and then every other one, I end with one right next to this hinge. The guides are just a hair too wide for these lugs to fit in there. So what I've done on this side is I just took my angle grinder and just ground away that rubber and these steel clips right there. So on this side they'll fit perfectly. So I just got to do that to these 10 and drill the holes. Alright, here is one complete track. And I used 60 guides. So I'm going to need to get a few more since the kit only came with 108 for both. So now we're going to test fit this onto one side. Make sure that this little section is the right length, so I don't cut it too short or too long for the next one. Alright, so here's the test fitting the tracks on. And they look pretty good. I've got not much slack on the bottom there. I mean, these things are pretty tight. Problem is, I've got about 3 inches that I'm short. So I'm going to go ahead and take this section off and remake that. Make it another just this much more. Need to add in there, and that should be good. Here's my new short section. I just added this much length right here. So get the picture. You know, one more guide, one more space. And on this one, I was thinking about it. I put the nuts on the inside instead of the outside, because that's the way it is on my bulldozer. And so instead of these threads and nuts getting ground into the dirt for who knows how long, which would make them more difficult to get off, I turn them around. I'm probably not going to take the other track or all the other guides off the other track and turn them around, but on the next one I'll do them this way as well. Alright, so there's the track all the way installed on the left-hand side. It looks a little bit long. Good amount of space there. I'll have to wait till I get it down and see how much sag I've got. I could add a little bit of air to the tires, and that would take up a little bit of the slack. But one of the things I'm very pleased about is, the clearance I've got. Just enough with those 2-inch spacers. So, yeah, on the next side, on the right side track, I might move this hinge back a little bit here on this section. Alright, got the right side track on, and the method I used with the ratchet straps worked pretty good. Just hooked ratchet strap onto like this one, and then down here on both sides, ratchet them together until the hinge lined up. Looks like I've got just enough slack there, and now just need to get down off the jack stands and try it out. Got it out of the working area and took it for a little drive, and I'll put you on the tripod here and drive around the driveway. Final observations. It seems to work pretty well so far. I haven't taken it in really rough terrain, but I'll do that this weekend. It'll go pretty quick, not as fast obviously as with just the tires on there. I think the tracks each weigh about 100 pounds, so that added a little bit of weight to it. It is a little bit uncomfortable to go that fast. When you reach the point where the hinges are, you're missing a lug there, so you can feel that like a flat spot on your tire almost. But other than that, I'm just doing donuts on the driveway. It's a little wet today, so it's good for sliding around. But certainly, in loose terrain, I wouldn't drive it on the grass on your lawn with these tracks, because it'll tear it up pretty good. So I was going to cut off the video when I was doing the testing in my driveway, but decided to take you all along with me when I try to conquer this hill that is the reason I put the tracks on. I have not been able to get up that hill with anything with wheels on it. You can see it's a lot of leaves and pretty loose soil, so I have got my GoPro camera on, and we will see if we can get up that. I decided to do a voiceover for this portion of the video because the sound quality on the GoPro isn't that good, and my voice would have been drowned out by the sound of the engine anyway. So I don't know if you can tell from the video how steep this hill is, but it's steep enough that at some points you almost need to go up on all fours. Certainly the footing is pretty bad. This part right here is where I always got stuck with my quad or with the Max with wheels on it. And with the tracks on it, just powered right on through, kept going. There's a lot of deadfall on the trail, you can see. There's some rocks. It makes for a pretty rough ride. but the fact that I can actually get up the hill, the quality of the ride is secondary to actually being able to get up the hill. Right here I'm coming up to the first switchback, and that's the end of the steepest part. So if I could get up that part there, then I wouldn't have any problem getting up any of the other sections of the trail. Then I just turned around, started coming back down, and I was just riding the brakes pretty much the whole way. Probably can tell on the way down a little bit better how steep it is. The footing on this trail is pretty bad. You can see it's covered with leaves, and just climbing up at the footing is it's pretty dangerous. You need walking sticks, something. And I was a little concerned that I'd slide down the hill, so there's a couple of spots here where I just pulled back on the brakes and just to check right there to see if I could stop mid-trail without sliding. Again, this is right here, this is the steepest little section. It's also a little narrow there. The trail gets narrow at some points, and that's one of the other reasons I only wanted the 2-inch wheel spacers, because there's some spots where there's trees right along the edge of the trail, or it's right along the edge of a drop off, and going with another 6 inches of width would make it a little bit more difficult. So that's it. Finally got up that hill. I've been trying for years to get up that with my quad or with the Max with wheels on it, to no avail. And these tracks did it on the first try, so they worked great. I must say that these tracks performed fantastic. A little bit of inspection here. Doesn't look like we're missing any guides. There's an awful lot of rocks on that trail. I don't know if you noticed. It's a pretty rough ride, but this thing was going over stuff that, like I said, no quad has been able to get up that hill. And it looks like I'm getting some pull through right there. Oh yeah, that one did pull through. Looks like I have to put a bigger washer on that one. Alright, well, so far that looks like the only casualty. Yeah. Alright, anyway, I must say I will highly endorse this this track kit, and certainly using this type of track, because it's kind of a do-it-yourself type of thing. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed it, and send me any comments or questions you got.